Hello mini makers, today we'll be making a Cleffa from Pokemon for 3D printing. We will begin with the basic shapes. Add a sphere for the body and use proportional editing to give it an egg-like shape by moving the top tip up and the bottom tip into the body. We can then make the feet by adding a cylinder, sizing the face inwards and curving the tip slightly as seen in the art. We can then mirror this across the body using the body as a mirror object, making sure none of the mirrored pairs overlap because this is a 3D print and you do not want any mirrored pairs overlapping or there will be issues in the print. Next, we will move on to the ears, which can be done by adding a cube, subdividing surfaces, and sizing it in the X dimension while you make the tip smaller. You can spend some time trying to make this shape as well as you want. We can then mirror the ear across the body and refine the shape of the ear and the body in sculpt mode. Next, we can move on to making the hands by adding a sphere and sizing it in the X dimension and mirroring it across the body. Moving on to the face, we can add some geometry using dynamic topology by setting the inflate brush to 0 and drawing on the surface. For the mouth, we can use the mask tool and make the mouth shape, invert the mask using Ctrl-I, then use the draw and grab tools to push the mouth into the body. We can then smooth out the mouth. We can add a tongue by adding a sphere, sizing it in the Y dimension, and use proportional editing to give it the look that you would like it to have as seen in the concept art. Moving on to the cheeks, we can use the mask tool, invert the mask, and push out the mask using the inflate mesh filter tool, and then smooth the cheeks out. We can use the same process to make the eyes, except we will use the inflate mesh filter tool to push the eyes into the body, use the pinch tool to enforce the boundaries of the eyes, and we can do the same with the pupil, making sure to use the smooth tool on the pupil to give it a smooth shape. Now we can move on to making the tufts of hair at the top. We can pull out a small section using the grab tool and use the inflate tool to give it a small amount of volume. Be sure to put a mask on the face to make sure the face is unaffected when using the grab tool and the blob tool. To alter the hair tuft, we can then disable symmetry and move the shape as seen in the art with the grab tool. Use the blob tool and the smooth tool to get a shape that you would like. We can then use the crease tool to add a swirl. Use the pinch tool to make the swirl tighter, and be sure you look at your model from all sides to see that you like the way it looks. We will now be moving on to the tail, which can be made by adding a sphere and a cylinder to get the approximate shape of the tail, unioning the two shapes together using the bool tool add-on. After they have been subdivided with a subdivide surface modifier, we can follow a similar process that's done in the hair tuft by adding some geometry using the inflate brush and dynamic topology. We can then add some volume to the tail using the clay strips tool and move the tail around to get the shape that we would like by using the grab tool with dynamic topology enabled. For the swirl, we can use the draw tool in the negative dimension and then use the pinch tool to make the swirl tighter. We can then put the final touches on the cleffa and union all the parts to the body. If you like the model and want to print it for yourself, please go to my printables page in the description and download it for yourself. If you would like to support more videos and more models, please support me on my Patreon page.